All right, what's going on, everybody? Uh, Dad of War, we're back again. This is immediately in the morning. I got like 3 hours of sleep. um, yeah, my princess, I guess she's not feeling good right now. She's asleep with mommy, so beautiful thing to see. But that gives me time to record part three. So I just uploaded part two. I had scheduled it to come out already. That's why the thumbnail kind of looks differently because I wanted to get that one out quickly. Just seeing all the comments and, of course, rewatching part one for me. I do want to touch on a comment that I did see here. See here. Let's go to my comments. Okay. And on Money Game Part 1. From Miko. Okay, Miko. First thing, I did already read it, and I appreciate that you put my videos on at work, and that you enjoy it, and I greatly appreciate that. I do that with people that I really like, also, especially because I work 10-hour 4 10s at night, and yeah, so I greatly appreciate that. Um, the We here have a lot shorter history of immigration than you there. Perhaps the privilege is easier to see here. I don't know. Half of my colleagues are born somewhere else than here, or are sons or daughters of immigrants. It is just that I refuse to think that growing up or life itself hasn't been easier for me than it's been to people with different backgrounds. I mean, um, I don't think life for anybody. I don't think it's a racism. I think it's more classism, and I don't think anybody in our class of middle class, the working class. I don't think anything has been easy for us because we're the ones that get hit with the brunt of it. We get hit with the taxes. We get hit with the, um, especially when you're like not too low income to qualify for stuff, but you're not high enough income for it to not affect you, if that makes any sense. Um, yeah, and I think we all struggle in this class people, and unfortunately, that's the majority people. We're all struggling, regardless of our backgrounds. So that's why I always say it's not really systemic racism. It's just more classism, in the sense that the they want to keep the working class the working class. They want to keep the poor poor. They want to keep the working class getting poorer, and then the rich getting richer, of course. Um, and because I'm absolutely certain of this, I found it easier to understand why it's easier for some people to fall off the tracks than it is for someone else. Yes, I mean, in our class, it's a lot easier to find coping mechanisms to get rid of the pain and to try to find easier routes to make this life a lot easier. Um, and it's very understandable how people can fall off the tracks very quite easily, especially in our and especially for the lower class, also for the impoverished. I don't even know the correct term for that, but those in the lower poverty levels. Um, because everybody feels like the life is just beating down on them, and it's very hard for people to keep a positive outlook on it, especially when you don't have positive figures around you. So I can see that as well. I too used to think people should be more colorblind to see just as people, but the more I think about it, the more I kind of feel that it's almost like denying one's roots. And I think roots are important and therefore should be respected and valued in order to truly respect and value other people. I agree and disagree on that. I agree that our roots do make us um, respect and value each other more, but I don't feel that it should be the first thing you see about someone. Um, I'm pretty sure you didn't mean it that way, and like I'm saying, when I was speaking on the colorblind issue, I was speaking on first meeting someone, because like I've had um and usually it's people fresh out of college here in America. Um, two two white people who came up to me and said, "Oh, I'm sorry for what we did to your people." And I just looked at them puzzled, like, "What do you mean? What you did to my people? Like, you didn't do anything to me. You're young. You're probably just fresh out of college, like." And they were like, "Oh, well, our ancestors." And I was like, "Well, you have nothing to do with that, so you shouldn't feel any type of way whatsoever. Um, you weren't part of it. You weren't the ones that made those choices. So, in that aspect, I feel like um, nobody should feel that type of way at all. It's not fair to oneself to try to make up for the wrongdoings of people who you would have never met because they're way too far in your ancestry. You know what I mean? And like with me, like I don't feel that me being part having some native blood in me, not much, but I do have some. Um, I don't feel like I'm owed any reparations or anything, for the way my people were treated or anything, because it's just the history is the history, and that's what it is. It's something that we need to learn upon and find different routes. Oh, hold on, it's here. Sorry, Princess is waking up, so I'm gonna wrap up this beginning part up. Um, yeah, okay. So yes, I do agree that we should value each other's history, but not their ancestry. You know what I mean? Because we all know the every flag has a little blood on it. You know what I mean? Every flag, every single country. However, there's still countries that have blood spilling today. So we do need to be conscious about that, is what I always say. Especially if we want to be humanitarians and love all people equally, we gotta figure out how to get everybody on the same playing field. Especially because like there's still modern day slavery today. Um, yeah, so I do feel that we should respect people's history and where they come from, and as well as the roots. But I also think that it shouldn't be the first thing that we see in each other. Now, what provoked me to comment, I have enjoyed watching your videos. Actually, I just listened to them while working and will continue to do so in the future. I appreciate that. I greatly do. What provoked me to commenting this time was the comments of yours about liberals wanting socialism to America. Nope, this is utter nonsense. Like Mr. Trump calling his opponent a communist, it is a stupid thing to say and does nothing but polarize the society even more. Trust me, we have that same shit over here. And trust me, for I know this is one thing Ren is talking about in this trilogy. I'm about to do part 3, which this is the intro to part 3. So if you're here watching this entire reply to this one comment from Miko, um, don't worry, the video is starting soon. I just wanted to clear this up, especially because we've been engaging in conversation, and you're one of my supporters, so I feel like I gotta give all my supporters the attention. And yeah, and I greatly appreciate you, especially having this and not provoking, but opening my mind more, making me think a lot more. You know what I mean? And I love it. I love engaging in conversation like this. Um, yeah, Mr. Trump calling her Kami Harris or Kamala. Yeah, I don't agree with that either. I don't like Trump's personality. I don't like his rhetoric that he uses. I do see that it is polarizing at times. Um, but that goes for both sides of the aisle. I mean, both Democrats and Republicans are very polarizing over here, and and you'll get the polarization depending on what you watch, right? Whether you watch Fox News, whether you watch CNN, whether you watch One American News, whether you watch MSNBC, whether you watch um the what is it, the ONN, forgot, the very very conservative news channel, or you watch CNBC. You know what I mean? Like, depending on what you watch is the amount of polarization you're going to get towards one group or the other. Um It's like how they were saying that Trump incited violence or Trump incited the riot on the Capitol when they stormed the Capitol on January 6th. And it wasn't true at all. Um, he said, let's peacefully march and make our voices heard. He was trying to invoke the First Amendment and the right to protest. He never said once, let's storm the Capitol. But there is video evidence of the FBI the day before trying to get in people's heads saying, like, we should storm the Capitol. So there's a lot of underlying tones there that sparked that entire thing. And I truly, truly hate it. Yeah, I hate that polarization that you're speaking on. And I don't agree with it on either side. I don't think either side should tear down people like that, and it's completely wrong. Now, it's part of the liberals wanting socialism. There's actually the socialists. Hold on, let me see. Yeah, so like AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, they have a whole little like subgroup in the Democrats that are pushing for socialism. And then you have people like Kamala Harris and her running mate who are Marxists. And I mean, I know that they're different, Marxism and socialism, but they are two and the same. It's just the difference in government, the way the government's run. You know what I mean? One, you will own nothing and be happy, and the other one, the government will own everything. Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing to me. Marxism, socialism, and they always turn into communism, dictatorships, and all that good jazz, And anytime that I've seen socialism tried, it never works out. Even like in Sweden, I think Sweden, they have a socialist, like socialism with their like healthcare and stuff like that, but they still do have a free market society there, or economy, in some way, shape, or form, and it's not full socialism, because full socialism will never work. Anybody that's tried it, it's always ended up reverting back or turning into communism, like Venezuela, Cuba, even Germany, I think Russia too, and the Soviet Union, that was also socialism as well until it turned into communism. China, all those places. So there's Democrats strongly advocating for socialism here in America because they say that the free market society and the capitalism and all that does not work, and it promotes basically corporatist elitism, and does, but socialism is not the answer. And I don't know what we can do. And again, that's why I want to start my political challenge, so that way I can actually focus and dive deep into everything related, because I love politics. I love politics and I love getting into political discussions. But I will admit that I am not fully versed in the political sphere. You know what I mean? And that's why I want to start a political channel, so that way I can force myself to actually dive deep and help educate people as well. And which is, this is why I'm loving this discussion. I mean, like, here we are, 14 minutes into the video. I haven't even started. I'm just going to make this a separate video. Yeah, this is going to be a separate video. Specifically just for you, Miko, and anybody who wants to watch this, you know what I mean? And anybody who's feeling, so maybe I won't do a wrap up. I probably will still do. Like someone commented, I'm currently reading a book, Moderate Greatness, Why Civilizations Fail, author William Ophulus. So I do want to read that. I'm curious. It's very relevant to this trilogy. Don't know if Ren has read it, but I think it would open everyone's eyes to what Ren is saying. So yeah, I do want to read that one. I'm going to reply to that one right here. Yeah. So Miko, I'm replying to you in video here. And yeah. Okay, right here. Yeah, you need to use this as a learning moment and pay attention to the lessons of history. You sit there demonizing people while doing the same things yourself. You're a sad representation of the worst of America's failing education system. Ren would not agree with your reading, but you are free to choose your own opinions. But damn, it's on us to call you on that. Hope people do. I'm not under no illusion that this comment will change your mind, but hopefully it will allow you to point the mirror at yourself. Peace. Okay, this is from Unshigai1. Unshigai1, I would like for you to elaborate a little bit more on the demonizing people. I don't know if you're speaking to what Miko had said with the me saying that liberals want to push socialism. I hope you're not referring to the BLM thing. I did clear that up in part 2, so I hope you watched part 2. And because I didn't want to specifically target them out, it was just the only clear and evident example that I had on what Ren was talking about in the sense of promoting fear and fear mongering into the public, which, you know, I mean, me being Hispanic here and part native here in America, there's quite a bit of fear mongering in our society, also in our communities, you know, about this so-called white man, you know, and they're always trying to warn us and do all this other crazy stuff. And I'm just like, no, like, come on, people. I won't be subject to the victimhood mentality. And I don't feel like anybody should. I think people should be strong enough to realize that they're just being fear mongered into a way of thinking. However, there's a lot of people who don't have access to different avenues to look at, and I feel for those people, especially like in the streets of, say, Compton or Watts, or in the streets of Detroit, or in the streets of Chicago, you know, where they grow up in that area and they grow up around all of that, and that's all they know, you know, and they don't have any other avenue to look at, and very, very few make it out of that lifestyle. And you know, it's horrible, especially because as a kid growing up with colored skin, you're taught to fear the police and fear the white men, you know, and that goes for people that I know that grew up in black neighborhoods, people that I know grew up in Hispanic neighborhoods, and even white people that grew up in poor neighborhoods, you know, like the trailers, the trailer parks and stuff, you know. And we're all taught the same thing, that, you know, the world's against us. And I want, we grow up around the same thing. Like there's it's very hard to put it into what I want to get across, but like even like the whole white privilege thing. Tell me how people who grow up in the trailer parks, you know, the ones that they consider trailer trash is what they call them, how they have the white privilege, you know what I mean? When they're growing up just as poor as everybody in that neighborhood, you know, in the ghetto, you know, and it's that's why I'm not an advocate for that, you know, because if we just focus on the history, we just focus on what our ancestors did, it eliminates us from being able to grow and prosper as a civilization. It disables us from being able to move forward and actually appreciate each other, and, you know, be able to be on the same playing field, you know what I mean? And that's one of the reasons why I hate seeing color. I don't think it's right, you know, that we see color. And because if we're in the same class, it don't matter what color you are, you're in the same struggle as me, you know. And I don't want people to get the wrong idea of that it's the color of your skin. That's the situation that we're in, you know, and the world isn't out to get us. The world isn't out against us. You know, I mean, maybe the corporatist elitists are, because they want us to continue buying their products and thinking that their products are the end all be all. You know what I mean? So they want to keep us under, but the world doesn't want to keep us under. The world wants to see everybody prosper, because the world is made up of people like you and I. The world is made up of people like Miko and I, you know. I don't want my daughters to grow up thinking, you know, that the world's out to get them, that they don't have a fighting chance here in this world, you know. And I'm not going to teach them that. I'm going to teach them, you know, that if you work hard enough at things, and you can get what you want, you know. You just got to work at it. And the more effort, the more work you put into it, the more you see things in different ways, and being able to look at things from different perspectives, you know, then beautiful. Then you'll make it in this life, you know. And especially for my unborn child, you know, because we are expecting. We've been having a lot of problems with this pregnancy, but you know, we're holding strong, you know, and we're trying to see the light at the end of the tunnel, especially because we just want our baby to be healthy. You know what I mean? And when that baby is born, healthy little baby, when that baby is born, whether it's a boy or a girl, yeah, we already have the names picked out for both. I want that baby to know that there's hope in this world, and that they'll be able to achieve anything. And just because they're brown doesn't mean that everything's going to be put against them. You know what I mean? And yeah, so I don't want my kids growing up like that, and I'm not going to raise them like that. So, and say, I'm going to go ahead and reply here. Okay. Yeah. So, Miko, I appreciate you. You know, I don't, all the, I mean, I've gotten hate on my comments, a lot of hate on my comments. And I'm not, I'm definitely not, I have thick skin, basically, is what I'm trying to say. So I can take a lot, and I don't get offended. I don't feel that I've ever really been offended, to be honest. One time I did. I was working in a call center, and a lady called in, or it was an older lady. She called in, and she wanted to talk about something about her bill. And you know, we were talking, and she was like, you know what, give me someone who speaks English. And I was like, what language are we speaking, if you don't mind me asking? She's like, I want someone who speaks English. And I was like, last time I checked, that's what I was talking, but all right. And then she was like, give me your supervisor and make sure they're white. And I was like, okay. So yeah, that one, I've never been offended before prior to that. And I don't think I've ever been offended after that. But I was just like, oh, hold up. That was the first time I really like felt some type of way. Cause I've been racially profiled by police before, you know. I was driving an 81 Corvette and had the T-tops off, and pulled me over for no reason. And you know why I stopped you? I was like, no, honestly, I don't. I wasn't speeding. I didn't run no stop sign, nothing. I was like, oh, well, license and registration, please. And he didn't want to give me the reason. And I told him, I was like, well, what's the reason for the stop? And he was like, is this your car? And I was like, okay. I see where this is going. You know, and the funny part is that it wasn't even a white cop. It was another Hispanic like myself. So it doesn't matter the color of your skin. People are gonna racially profile you regardless of the fact. I got 2 comments now. Let's see. Oh, okay, Miko, you just replied to my other video. Oh, you asked me a question. I'm honored. Don't have much time, but I'll try. I've been told I'm a socialist, Marxist, or even a communist because I think everyone should have the right to decide for their own bodies, because I think we as a mankind should take better care of this globe, because I think long prison sentences are good for anyone else than the ones running the prisons, and because I care for social security structures and affordable health care. Really. I've been told that I'm a socialist because of those subjects. Those were Harris's stands on some key issues, but if those subjects make me a socialist, communist, or Marxist, then I'm happy to be one, though. Although that isn't what comes in my mind when I think of socialism, Marxism, or communism is mentioned. I must say that there is more subjects we disagree than agree, most likely because we were born in a different place and time and grew up in different kind of societies. But yeah, did I ever find myself in Texas? I'll most likely come looking for you. It would be a very, very interesting to carry on this conversation, perhaps over a pint. Peace. Okay. Yeah. The right to decide for their own bodies. I'm assuming you mean pro-choice. Yeah, my morals are aligned differently. So like you said, we did grow up differently, and we do disagree on that part. Now, but for the other parts, mankind, we should take better care of this globe. Yeah, I mean, this is where we live, you know, and we should treat it as such. Long prison sentences aren't good for anyone else other than the ones running the prisons. Yeah, that is very true. And social security structures and affordable healthcare, and that's something that I advocate for also. Not the social security structures. I just think that that's causing more higher tax paying, you know, and that's the one part that I just don't agree with in that sense, because it actually hurts more people than it helps. I mean, and to a certain extent, you know what I mean? I'm talking more like food stamps and stuff like that, because people will actually avoid different things. I've seen it. I grew up poor. You know, and I've seen what the lengths that people go through just to qualify for affordable healthcare. For affordable healthcare, for food stamps, for WIC, for all of these different, all of these different things. You know, I've seen the lengths that people go through, and it's sad. It's very sad, seeing what they restrict themselves from doing. So I don't agree with majority of that. Affordable healthcare, I do think healthcare should be affordable. You know, and there's some part of universal basic health care that I do agree with, you know. That's something that's considered very socialist, is universal healthcare, right? Where it should be free, kind of like Canada. However, I don't think it should be entirely free. I think that if you aren't taking care of yourself, you know, then you should pay for your own Medicare. It shouldn't be left on the taxpayer to provide for you, because you're making those choices. Now, I get it, in the sense of mental health, you know, and stuff like that, that leads to some of that. Then sure, there's an understanding there. But when there's a 5-year-old little girl who needs a heart transplant and their family can't afford it, you know, then yes, I don't mind paying extra in taxes to get that taken care of. You know, when there's stuff that's out of your control, I feel like, yeah, it should be paid for. You know, there's no reason why it should bankrupt the family and put them in debt, hundreds of thousands of dollars, just because their 5-year-old little girl wanted a fighting chance to survive. You know what I mean? And yeah, it's there's some parts that I agree with and some parts that I don't, you know? And like in the sense of, um, you know, if you're just drinking, smoking, and partying and, you know, stuff like that, then, you know, I don't feel like you should be the one paying for your healthcare because you're the one making those choices to do that to your body. You know what I mean? So I do feel that. I do feel that. Um, the pro life, pro choice thing, that's something that I'm very, 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 very hard on. Um, just because I know a lot of females who, um, you know, who've gotten sexually abused or stuff and ended up pregnant, keeping the baby, and one who didn't, and the one who didn't regretted their decision. So, it's very hard for me to be pro choice because I don't think it's your body. I think the baby is its own entity, you know, it's its own, it's an, I mean, we want to be humanitarians and we want to be, for the people. Well, that baby is a person. It's just in a stomach developing, but it has a heartbeat. It's, we think, we think a plant on Mars is life. We don't think a heartbeat in a stomach is life. You know, it's very daunting to me how we can even think that as a society. And I think it's just downright murder, you know, a separate body just because it's inside of you, inside of your body doesn't mean that it's not its own body, you know. And no matter how much I try to fight for it or advocate for it, nobody's gonna change their mind on that because it's such a polarizing topic, you know. And I already know. Okay. Sorry. Prince is waking up and yeah. Um, you know, given the circumstances of what we were talking about right now, say for instance, like this pregnancy that we're going through right now, it's rough and we just want the baby to be okay. And you know, I don't she doesn't consider the baby part of her body. We consider it a different entity, a different not entity, entity, a different human being, you know. Just because it's this big or this big or this big or this big, it's still a human. And that's the one thing that I don't understand is people who are for human rights don't consider fetuses to be humans. But when a pregnant woman dies in a car accident, say from a DWI, right, and that person gets charged with double homicide. Or if a pregnant woman gets murdered, that person gets charged with double homicide. If a pregnant woman were to die in an accident, that's completely an accident. It'd be ruled 2 deaths, not 1. You know, and I look, hear me out, because I know this is a very, 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 very strong topic that people can't get. They can never come to terms with, right? They'll never be able to come to terms with. And this is the only argument that I ever want to make is abortions only affect, really, they really affect the middle class and the lower class, right? And people of color. Let's just be 100% honest here, right? If you're looking at the statistics, the amount of people who get abortions, it's mainly minorities. And it's strongly promoted in minority communities. And also in minority communities, there's a lack of sexual education. And the person who created Planned Parenthood Margaret Sanger. She was very racist. Very. And let me see. I really hate searching on Google just because of the simple fact that you need to get through all the BS. Of let me see. I need to find something that's more true. Someone who reports actual. Okay, let's see this one. All right, Planned Parenthood is the largest abortion provider in America. 78% of their clinics are in minority communities. Blacks make up 12% of the population, but 35% of the abortions in America. Are we being targeted? Isn't that genocide? We're only a minority in America that is on the decline in population. If the current trend continues by 2038, the black vote will be insignificant. Did you know that the founder of Planned Parenthood, Margaret Sanger, was a devout racist who created the Negro Project, designed to sterilize unknowing black women and others she deemed as undesirables to society? Founder of Planned Parenthood said colored people are like human weeds and we are to exterminate them. Is her vision being fulfilled today? So, abortion is very, very, very heavily promoted by left-wing figures, right? Kamala Harris, who we know as a Marxist, promotes strongly on that, right? And she's running as a black woman. But prior to her presidency and prior to wanting to captivate the black vote, she was Indian. And she was a proud Indian. And all of a sudden, she forgot those roots, you know? And it just goes to this point that Ren was talking about, was that it's all hypocritical. Everything. Hypocrisy. And to your point on the prison, I think long prison sentences aren't good for anyone. Kamala Harris, when she was the district attorney of California, she would deny people, even innocent people that she knew, and there was evidence proving that they were innocent. She would deny them so she can keep them under slave labor, is what I would call it, in the prison. And there's a long documented history of her doing that, of her denying people getting out early, of her harshly convicting people for minor offenses, giving them extended sentences, stuff like that, because she was using them for labor for the prison system. And she is a very, 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 very strong person that was doing that. And just like every other Democrat here in America, they're the ones, especially the district attorneys they're the ones that are pushing heavily to keep people convicted. And yeah, it's sad. And when you look at, say, Donald Trump, he was freeing people from minor drug offenses. He was the one doing that. He was the one advocating to drop charges for minor offenses, And I just feel like the way our media is portrayed and their portrayal of Trump, like how I talked about in Money Game Part 2, They, if you go and watch an entire speech from Trump, and then you watch CNN segments right after that speech, and you look at the way they cut it and picked apart and, you know, dissected certain little parts and ran with those headlines, you'd be appalled on how blatant everything is over here in America and how blatant the lies are, you know? I mean, look at what Trump wants to do for the working class. If you work overtime, he wants to get rid of the tax. He wants it to be tax free, that you make that money on, you know, and he doesn't want the IRS to be able to get that money at the end of the year either. He wants it to be 100% tax free on any overtime that you work. And trust me, I work a lot of overtime. So anything over 40 hours, you would be getting it tax free. You get your time and a half pay or double time pay, whatever your job pays, tax free. You know how awesome that is to hear, you know? And it's just, there's certain things, certain aspects. And I mean, trust me, I mean, I don't drink, but I would love to carry on the conversation. You know what I mean? Because I feel like we would challenge each other's thoughts very well. And I love being challenged. But yeah, you know, I really hope that this video does some justice to get you into the mindset of how I think, in a way. It's not fully because I don't have talking points, you know, or notes listed or things that I can go off of, statistics already ready at hand. You know, I don't have any of that ready to go. Which is why I'm going to be making the political channel. And this little series is making me push so heavily into making that political channel and want to speed up the process. But it takes time, especially for this first video. And yeah, we don't see eye to eye. But that doesn't mean that we should hate each other at all. You know, and I greatly appreciate that you're a supporter of the channel and that you support my videos. And I hope that, you know, in the future, like how you said, you'll continue to do it in the future, you know, and I hope that you enjoy every single reaction that I put out there for you. And just like everybody else who I replied to in this video. And all the future people who are seeing this, I hope you guys enjoy my content. Money Game Part 3 will be filmed hopefully later today. And yeah, I appreciate you guys. I'll have a wonderful day, a wonderful week, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.